Christian Rios, and my topic is capital punishment. My main claim is that capital punishment is not an effective deterrent to crime. I'd first like to begin by defining capital punishment. According to the Bureau of Justice, it refers to the process of sentencing convicted offenders to death for the most serious crimes and carrying out that sentence. The specific offenses and circumstances which determine if a crime is eligible for death is usually defined by the state and prescribed by Congress or state legislature, which I've said already. I'd also like to define capital crimes. The capital crimes that have been very common in all of the states that have capital punishment are murder, kidnapping, and rape. My first claim is that because of the impulsive nature of these crimes, very little can be done in terms of consequences, in terms of deterrence. The person is not thinking logically in these circumstances. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, people commit murders largely in the heat of passion under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or because they are mentally ill, and they give little or no thought to the possible consequences of their acts. The few murderers who do plan their crimes beforehand, like professional executioners or hitmen, as has been mentioned before, do intend and expect to avoid punishment altogether. And because they are premeditated, oftentimes a person doesn't get that capital punishment as a punishment. Usually they have a milder sentence or no sentence at all. My second claim is the death penalty does not add any significant deterrent effect above that of long-term imprisonment. According to the ACLU, the death penalty costs more and delivers less, as well as puts innocent lives at risk. Life without parole provides swift, severe, and certain punishment. Americans actually pay $117 million more each year to maintain a death penalty system that is functionally equivalent to death in prison. And over 20 years, the state would save more than $2.34 billion if everyone actually was sentenced to death in prison instead of the death penalty. According to Michael Reddeley, who's a PhD professor of sociology and the department chair of the University of Colorado, his research shows that 88% of the country's top criminologists do not believe the death penalty acts as a deterrent to homicide, and fewer than 10% of those polled criminologists believe that the effect of the death penalty is stronger than that of long-term imprisonment. My third claim is that although there's an argument that the death penalty is a strong deterrent to murder and other violent crimes, that this is a wrong claim. The homicide rate, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, is that at least 5 times the homicidal, the homicidal rate is at least 5 times greater in the United States than in any Western European country that do not have the death penalty. And our 39th president, Jimmy Carter, actually spoke out about this and said that there are more capital crimes in South Dakota, Connecticut, and Virginia, those states with death sentences, than in the neighboring states of North Dakota, Massachusetts, and West Virginia, which don't have any death penalties. The higher murder rates in the states that have the death penalty is proof that the death sentencing threat does not deter crime. If it did, these states would have a lower crime rate. Furthermore, there has never been any evidence that the death penalty reduces crime rates or that crimes increased when executions stopped. So capital punishment is not an effective deterrent to crime. Do you want this?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
right, Christian, the proposition was very clearly stated. There's not really any preview of what the secondary points are. You just dive right into the supporting structure. So I think that's a little bit problematic. You do have distinct supporting claims, though, that you list as you go through. The first two were relatively clear. The third one is a little confusing. It's basically a refutation argument as opposed to a claim advocating a particular position. So wording on it needs to be adjusted a little bit. But you did signpost those as you went through the speech, so it's relatively straightforward to follow. The support you have, there are 2 or 3 quotes from the ACLU. There's a quote from Jimmy Carter. So you've got people who are well known and they have background information on the subject, although I think most of them are speaking from a value-based point of view, especially President Carter. The statistical information that he refers to should probably come from a different source as opposed to some presentation that he gave where I'm almost certain he's summarizing something that he has read as opposed to that he collated this data himself. The statistical comparison to Western Europe was fine. Again, I think I need a source site on that. The cost issue I don't think has much to do with the deterrent issue. So unless you could show, for instance, that the expense is having some harmful effect on the ability of the law to deter crime, I don't think that really gets you very far. The better arguments are the reasoning arguments that you present on the first point and the statistical correlations that you present on the third point. I think you do a pretty good job speaking to the audience, so I don't know why you were all that nervous. You did fine. And there are just a couple places where I think you could find a lot more practical evidence to support your position, especially on that third point. All right, thank you.